Who is the puppetmaster? Is it the Jews? Who's the man behind the curtain? First of all, Israel is not a godly people or country. There is no such thing as Judeo-Christianity. It's a contradiction in terms. The Orthodox Jews that practice Judaism and do not believe in Jesus are not saved, not special, not God's people. They are modern-day Pharisees. They are Abraham's seed, but not the children of Abraham, because they don't believe. Jesus said, John chapter 8 verse 37, I know that ye are Abraham's seed, but ye seek to kill me, because my word hath no place in you. John chapter 8 verse 39, they answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Jesus saith unto them, If ye were Abraham's children, ye would do the works of Abraham. Jesus said unto them, If God were your father, ye would love me. For I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar, and the father of it. So they are the seed of Abraham, but in spirit they are children of the devil, because they do not believe in Jesus. 1 John chapter 3 verse 10, In this the children of God are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God, neither he that loveth not his brother. This sentiment is true of all who don't believe, regardless of ethnicity, they are children of the devil. It's true of all, not just Jews that don't believe. Who are the real Jews? Galatians chapter 3 verse 29, And if ye be Christ's, then are ye Abraham's seed, and heirs according to the promise. Ephesians chapter 3 verse 6, That the Gentiles should be fellow heirs, and of the same body, and partakers of his promise in Christ by the gospel. Romans chapter 10 verse 21, That to Israel he saith, All day long I have stretched forth my hands unto a disobedient and gainsaying people. Romans chapter 11 verse 19, Thou wilt say then, The branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part has happened to Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, There shall come out of Sion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. For this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their sins. As concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes, but as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sakes. For the gifts and calling of God are without repentance. For as ye in times past have not believed God, yet have now obtained mercy through their unbelief. The Jews who don't believe are broken off, and Christians are grafted into the tree of Messianic Jews. So those who truly love Jesus and follow him are the true heirs of the promise, both Jew and Gentile. Christians are the true children of Abraham. Everyone, including Jews, who do not love Jesus nor believe to the saving of the soul, Hebrews chapter 10 verse 39, are the synagogue of Satan, Revelation chapter 2 verse 9 and 3 verse 9. Not just the Jews, anyone who is not a Christian is a child of the devil. Now, are the Jews, the fake ones, the enemy? Is the deep state, the secret society, and they who are responsible for the lies and deception, the all-powerful oligarchs that control everything, all Jews? Certainly some of them are. We have oligarchs, those pulling the puppet strings, who are Jews. But are all of them? No, not all of them are. Only some of them are. Did it begin with Jews? Let's take a look at that. Revelation chapter 17 and 18 is specifically talking about the great whore of the end time. Revelation chapter 18 verse 23, And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Sorceries. By her sorceries were all nations deceived. Mickelson's enhanced Strong's dictionaries of the Greek and Hebrew Testaments defines this word to mean. Greek. Pharmakia. The use of drugs, potions, and enchantments. Poisoning. Pharmacy. By extension, the occult, witchcraft, as giving control to demons in exchange for momentary, though treacherous, benefit. This is exactly what the Luciferians do to gain power. So this end-time entity is the responsible party, as we see in verse 23. We can be pretty certain who this entity is when we look at all of the things written there that describe her, and apply that to the current world. She is not Israel or the Jews by any stretch of the imagination. Israel doesn't fit the description of the great whore at all. Who is the great whore? She's a woman, A church that sits on many peoples and nations. She will ride the power of the Antichrist's union of nations. She's rich and powerful. She's wearing purple and scarlet. She's the mother of harlots, false churches. She's a city that sits on 7 hills. The Catholic Encyclopedia states, it is within the city of Rome, called the City of 7 Hills, that the entire area of Vatican State proper is now confined. She's a city that reigns over the kings of the earth. She is not the king, she rules the kings. She's drunken with the blood of the saints, she's killed many Christians. The kings of the earth commit adultery with her, worship a false god. She's hated by the 10 kings, 10 Muslim nations as it appears to be at this time, that align with the Antichrist in his inner circle of United Nations. Who is she? Almost certainly she is the Roman Catholic Church. See the link in the description of this video for documentation on this. The Vatican fits all those things perfectly. Now, think about the oligarchs that control the world and read the last half of that list again in light of who she is and what's going on in the world with the Puppetmaster. Reigning over the kings of the earth takes on a new light when we see it from that angle. Committing adultery with her. The actors are not the Puppetmaster. The Puppetmaster hides behind the curtain while his actors are the public face and the target of any retribution that may come. These oligarchs are set up to be the faces that the public see. They are not the Puppetmaster. If we believe the Jews are the all-powerful oligarchs that control everything, why can't they control everything? The UN, for example, has never been pro-Israel. A recent headline from December 1, 2022, shameful, disgrace, UN declares Israel's establishment a catastrophe. If the Jews were so powerful and controlled the world like people believe, why don't they actually control the world? Right? Why don't they? And, the Jews who now control the world's media are strangely unable to prevent a tsunami of anti-Semitic and anti-Israel content from appearing in both media of the old-fashioned kind, and still more torrentially, in social media. Why? If they control the media, don't we see this instead of article after article condemning Israel for the civilian casualties in their war with Hamas? The mainstream media continually ignores the fact that Hamas is regularly lobbing missiles at Israeli civilians, but the MSM only focuses on Israel's retaliation. If the Jews control the media, why don't they promote Israel instead of Palestine, and why do they constantly condemn Israel while the Palestinians hide their military behind civilians and children? Why, if Jews control this information, do they not condemn Palestine for these atrocities? The Jews most certainly do not control much of anything. Yes, there are some who are very rich and powerful, but so are there plenty of other people who are very rich and powerful, and very much part of them, but are not Jews. Conversely, it seems as if there is something or someone trying to make the world hate the Jews. The world as a whole certainly doesn't hate the Vatican even after the knowledge we have of some of her many atrocities over millennia. Why? Why would anyone care about such a small group of people like the Jews? What have they really done for the world to hate them? Sure, they're trying to take the land they claim is theirs and pushing out the locals, and if we believe the Bible we understand that it is their land. But even if it weren't theirs in the first place, what nation is not guilty of that? The US? European nations? Russia? China? Why don't we hate everyone then? They want you to hate Jews. Remember, Satan is not some dumb evil spirit flitting about, lying and whispering in people's ears trying to get them to stumble. He's a very powerful fallen angel that has infiltrated our societies and taken control of our governments and has almost complete control of this world. Ephesians chapter 6 verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. I see how the devil has his fingers in many things and has set up multiple fronts to achieve his goals: Freemasons, Buddhists, Muslims, Catholicism, etc. Think about this. If Satan knows what he's planning, and I'm sure he does, and he hates Jews more than anyone else because God chose Abraham for a people, then it makes sense that Satan would use Jews to produce his oligarchs, so when the world sees what's been done, they will hate Jews. This is why the Jews are some of the main players and why so many think it's all because of the Jews. Satan orchestrated it. One of his tools for misinformation and propaganda is Islam, with the overwhelming hatred for Jews that they are taught. In Palestine, children are raised to be jihad killers and taught that Jews are not even human. Iran and Palestine have bought accounts on social media platforms that promote hatred of Jews and propaganda that accuses them of being the they that is responsible for all the evils in the governments of the world in the Puppetmaster. They have been hacking and pushing misinformation ever since the internet became a public medium back in the 90s. It's no wonder that so many believe it. If you're still with me, let's now look at where the secret society first started and where it came from. Have you ever heard of the secret society and all the symbols they use? Like the obelisk? This is one of the many symbols they use for Luciferian worship. It symbolizes an erect thing, if you get my drift. Along with the all-seeing eye, the compass, and others. They're all over the world. The White House. And another common symbol of this organization is the compass, and another is the all-seeing eye. The Vatican. The compass, all-seeing eye, and obelisk all in one place. The all-seeing eye. The obelisk. It's not so subtle imagery of the eye, the obelisk, and the compass. The obelisk is actually a very ancient symbol, and it's quite interesting to find out that the obelisk at the Vatican actually came from ancient Egypt. It was brought to Rome during the Roman Empire, and was moved into the Basilica Square in 1586 by Pope Sixtus V. Pope Alexander VII finished the basilica construction in 1667. It's old. The Freemasons have been around for centuries, have been working secretively around the world, and exist in virtually every country in the world today. The beginning of Freemasonry in the United Kingdom is traced to the 24th of June 1717, when the first Grand Lodge was created in London at St. Paul's Churchyard. Do you find it interesting and compelling, like I do, that this was done by the Church? I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this. The Vatican has been a part of the Freemasons' secret society for centuries, and when we look at the Knights Templar and the Jesuits who apparently came from the ancient Templars, we can put two and two together. It seems that the Vatican might actually be the head of the snake. She's been secretive for millennia and appears that she is the source of this evil and likely the creator of the modern secret society. We've read stories about the massive infant graveyards beneath the Vatican, Catholic churches and other Catholic buildings. One of the things the Luciferians do is sacrifice children to gain power. It's a common ritual that is meant to harvest the life force, for your own personal gain, of which young boys are supposed to provide the most powerful force. People assume that nuns were getting pregnant by the priests and leaving the children to die in the catacombs and tunnels. I'm not saying I know what happened, I'm just pointing out some things that may suggest it's something else that happened. The devil horns is one of the hand signals of Luciferian Freemasons in the secret society. By the mid-18th century the Masons, Rosicrucians, mystics, and other orders with professed Templar origins had become so entwined that it is hard for the modern historian to tell them apart, from The Secret Society's Handbook, 2005, Michael Bradley. The Cross of Salem is a Luciferian symbol used by the secret society. It's a symbol of the Knights Templar and Sovereign Grand Commander. Wait, what? The Grand Commander? Pope John Paul II was the Grand Commander of the secret society? In the past, the Catholic Church was very secretive about its role with Freemasons and the secret society. Some popes even banned Catholics from joining the Freemasons. This appears to have been subterfuge and deception to bury the truth and deflect any suspicion that the Church was involved in Satan worship, and her involvement with Freemasonry in its 33rd degree secret society. On February 12, 2020, an Austrian Novus Ordo priest by the name of Fr. Michael Heinrich Wenninger gave a press conference announcing the release of his 504-page book, Loge und Altar, über die Aussöhnung von katholischer Kirche und regulärer Freimaurer. The title translates as, Lodge and Altar, on the reconciliation of the Catholic Church and regular Freemasonry. Not only is Wenninger himself a Mason, he even serves as the chaplain of 3 Austrian Masonic lodges, according to Moynihan. He was flanked by Austrian Masonic Grand Master and committed Catholic, Georg Semmler at the press conference. Further, as far as the Vatican II sect goes, officially it does indeed oppose Freemasonry, although in reality, of course, it is wedded at its core to the lodge. Freemasons celebrated their bicentennial in the Vatican Street Peter's Square in 1917. Pope Francis doesn't seem to care about secrecy anymore. Pope Francis is a zealous cooperator in the Great Reset and seeks to demolish Catholic Church, Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano says. The Archbishop accuses Pope Francis of being a zealous cooperator in the Great Reset. He said that the Pope wants to demolish the Church and replace it with an organization inspired by Masons. As pointed out by Not the Bee, the Great Reset has gained worldwide traction. A new society, governed by their own laws, is what the WEF aspires to. The WEF, the forerunner of the Great Reset, reportedly hosted Pope Francis in 2020. Here he is, again, in 2023 at the Davos WEF conference. The Pope has also reportedly been aware of and involved in some manner with the World Economic Forum as far back as 2014. Francis is heavily involved in transhumanism and the Great Reset. Life and existence are two separate things, and the Vatican is doing a bait and switch on behalf of Klaus Schwab and the WEF, the public face of the secret society. Remember, the actors are not the Puppetmaster. The Puppetmaster hides behind the curtain. It's important to remember that this is the promise of Lucifer to his faithful. This is the goal of the secret society. This is why they all squabble and fight for the top spot, so they can be supreme ruler when it all comes down. Again, as noted in my Who Is They article. The secret society of 33rd degree Freemasons is a large group of people in league with each other who want to bring in the next era in human existence. One where they control the population, reduced by far from what it is now, and where they are the rulers of the world. The sorcerers and magic users of the Bible still exist today within this secret society. They get their power from Lucifer, the fallen angel. But they believe he is the true God and that Jesus is a suppressor and inferior. This God of theirs calls himself darkness visible. These people do not comprehend that their God doesn't love them, or that he's not really their God. They are blinded and fooled by him 100%. They think of the common people as stupid. They flaunt it in our faces. They do not comprehend that their God, Satan, actually hates them. They think he's going to actually allow them to conclude their plans of world domination. He also created Islam and he can usurp their plans all he wants, and he will do just that when his Antichrist is ready. Why would he not use them to set up the world where he wants it for the Mahdi, and then take it away from them? He will stab them all in the back in the end. But he will continue to use them by giving them less than they expected. An interesting thing about the Antichrist in Daniel 11. It states that he does not serve the God of his fathers, or any God, but a strange God is involved. Daniel chapter 11 verse 23 And after the league made with him he shall work deceitfully and the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself, and magnify himself above every god. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any god, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold, and silver, and with precious stones, and pleasant things thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory. And he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. He will almost certainly be a Muslim as we see in prophecy all over the place, but he won't be a true believer, and he will either be a secret Freemason or will simply make a league with them, through the devil, and divide the land with them. And if we take a serious look at history, we can see that the Catholic Church is not quite as humane as she wants us to think she is. If you want to hide something, redirect. If they can blame it on the Jews, they turn your eyes away from them and they make their master happy. They've built a massive facade. It would literally take pages and pages of documentation to list all of the evidence of corruption and devil worship in the Catholic Church. I'm not going to list it all here, but I encourage anyone who's not aware to research it. Sometimes it's hard to find because they've tried to bury it and delete it, but it's still out there if you search hard enough. Jew hatred and finger-pointing is a work of the devil, and I believe promoted and supported by the inner circles of the Catholic machine. Why do I say that when the public information mostly shows how the Church was humane and supported Jews over the years? To the face, Catholicism has supported being humane to Jews, but there are examples of anti-Semitism all along. For example, Pope Pius XII seemed to be a pawn in the hand of Hitler during the rise of Hitler in his quest for world domination. He was called by some, Hitler's Pope. For centuries, Catholics were taught that Jews, all Jews, were cursed because they had killed Christ. The Catholic Church has long had a troubled relationship with the Jewish faith, with Christians having a negative attitude towards Jews and being extremely opposed to them, so much so that it can be noted that there was an extreme level of hostility against Jews inculcated by the Church. It's a facade, like everything else they do. In conclusion, I do not expect you to believe all this just because I say so, but take a look at how Pope Francis is pushing the interfaith movement, how he's very involved in the WEF and the New World Order. Research the atrocities of the Church over the centuries and seriously take a look at how the Vatican is likely the head of the snake, has been hiding involvement with Luciferian worship from the very beginning, and is the man behind the curtain, or at least is certainly a major player and a pawn of Satan. Who is the puppet master? The great whore. The Vatican. Working for her master, the devil. Some symbolic imagery displayed in the Vatican and Catholic churches. The all-seeing eye and pyramid of Luciferianism. The Baphomet being worshipped. A snakehead is the visual architecture of the Pope's audience hall in Vatican City. The backdrop behind the throne at the audience hall. What the heck is that demonic imagery? A fresco found at the Vatican. Ball, crescent, moon, sun worship objects of false religions incorporated in Catholic imagery. The head of the snake? For more information, visit BibleProphecyandTruth.com. Click the link in the description.